Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Morning, everyone. So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, whether the screen is visible or not, right?
Yes, sir, it is visual and clear.
Fine, thank you. So Python Software Foundation, in the last class, I was discussing like Python Software Foundation, non-profit organization devoted towards Python community. It was launched in the year 2001. The main objective is to foster the development of Python, and it received like Computer World Horizon Award in the year 2004. The president, Guido van Rossum, and headquarters, Delaware, USA, right? Official website, python.org, right? Python versions, Python 1.x in the year 1990, 2.x, 3.x. The latest version that we are using is Python 3.10. And I was showing you the Python installation in the last class. Execution modes, two modes of execution, like interactive mode and batch mode. So Python data types. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Operations are represented using functions. Just observe. If you want to compare the data types, C, C++ or Java with Python, Python supports dynamic data types. Python supports dynamic data types. In other programming language, if you want to define a variable like x as 10, compulsorily we need to define the data type int x. If you want to define y equal to 4.5, we are supposed to say float y equal to 4.5. Z equal to hello. Like we need to say string z equal to hello, right? But in Python, we don't need to define these data types. Directly we can say x as 10 and say like y as 4.5, z as hello. X as 10, y as 4.5, z as hello. No need to define the data type. But here, what kind of variable x is means based on the data type defining, you are saying it is integer. What kind of variable y is means it is based on the data type defining, you are saying it as float. What kind of variable z is based on the data type defining, you are saying it as string. But in here in Python, what type of variable x is? What type of variable x is means what value you are assigned to it. What value of, if you are assigned integer value, if you have assigned integer value, then it's integer type. If you are assigning float value, right? So the variable created, so float variable creates dynamically during runtime, right? So based upon what value you are assigning, if you are assigning integer value, integer variable gets created. If you are assigning a float value, float variable gets created in Python dynamically, right? We have got a function in Python, type function, type of y. Float type. Why it is float? Because you have assigned a float value. Type of X. Integer type. Why? Because you have assigned a integer value. Type of Z. String type. Because you have assigned a string value, right? Based upon what value you are assigning, right? Based on what value you are assigning to this, the variable is going to get created dynamically, right? So that's why we call in Python dynamic data types. Okay, now I'm going to discuss 4 cases, right? Defining the variables. Defining variables in Python. Case 1, I'm going to discuss 4 cases here. Case 1, whenever you define some variable like x as 10, whenever you define a variable like x as 10, right? Internally, one object gets created with value 10. It is going to occupy some memory, right? It is going to occupy some memory location address. It's going to have 10. Assume this is the address where exactly it is stored, right? This is given to x. What x is storing here? Don't say like x is storing 10. X stores the address. There are 3 things you need to understand, that whenever you are defining variables, what happens internally. So print x, if we say, right? If I say print x, prints the content. Prints the content at that address. Prints the content at that address means what is the content at that address? 10. It goes, whenever you say print x, it goes to that address and prints the content at that address. What is it? 10. If you want to print the address itself, where exactly it is stored, in Python we have got a function called id function. Id of x, address of x, prints the address of x. Type of x. Prints the data type of x. What's the data type of x?
Integer.
Integer, right? Yes. In this way, if you want to print the content, yes. Print the address. Address is this. Type of x prints the data type of x. This is what? Integer type, right? Yes. This case 1, printing the content, printing the address, printing the type. Whenever you define some variable, internally object gets created with some value. It's going to have some address. The address is given to x. Case 2, observe this case 2, right? Case 2. Now, everyone try to respond, right? Yes. So I want the sessions to be interactive from here on. So previously we have got some demo sessions I was speaking about, but now if I'm defining 2 variables, x as 10, y as 20, How many objects going to get created internally? How many objects gets created?
2.
2.
2, sir.
Yeah. For 10, one object. For 20, one object, right? It is going to have some address. The address is given to X. This address is given to Y. Now try to answer print X. What is the value? Print X.
10.
10.
It goes to that address and prints the content at that address, that is 10. If I want to print the address, where exactly it is stored? 10.
3070.
Type of X. What a data type there. What
Integer
value?
type.
Sir.
Why it is integer? Because you have assigned integer value.
Integer value.
Print Y. Print Y is what?
20.
20.
Address of Y?
104090.
4090.
4090. Type of Y. Type of Y, integer.
Integer type.
Okay. If you observe here, two different variables, X and Y, with two different values, 10 and 20, with two different objects, with two different addresses, right? Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses. Case 2 it is, right? Now, case 3, if you observe, now let's try to respond to Y star through chart panel, right? Okay. X equal to 10, Y also 10. So here X and Y, right? Now try to answer how many objects gets created?
2.
Everyone.
2 objects, sir.
So observe carefully here. Here
One object will be created.
only one object gets created, right? Only one object gets created with value 10. Once it's going to occupy some address, the address is given to X. Up to here, find right? X equal to 10. One object gets created with some address. Before creating object for Y, before creating object for Y, it checks any object with value 10 is already available in the memory. If available, the same address will be given to Y. If X is 10, Y is 10, Z also 10, right? 3 objects won't be created, only one object. Before creating object for Z, it checks any object with value 10 already available or not.
Yes, sir.
If available, the same address will be given to X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content. They are sharing the same address.
Object reusability.
So if X value 10, Y is 20, Z is 30, how many objects?
3, sir.
3 in that case. So here I can say like all the 3 sharing the same content in the address. Print X, or if I say like print Y,
Equals to print Z.
what is the value? 10.
10.
Print address of X, address of Y, address of Z. Same address, right? 1030.
1030, sir.
And the type of it also same type, integer type.
Integer.
X, Y, and Z. This case 3. 3 variables with same values. If same values means only one object. If different values means different objects. XYZ, if they have got same content 10, 10, 10, right? Only one object. Okay. Observe this case 4. This time X is 10, not X and Y, X and X only. X is 10, X is 20. How many objects?
2, sir.
2 objects, right? One with the 10. The address is given to X. 20, one more object. Some address 1040. Okay, up to here it's fine. But now try to say, if I say print X, if I say
20, sir.
10 or 20, whether it will print a 10 or whether it will print 20 or whether it will print both.
20, sir.
The latest value, previously X value 10, now the X value 20. Latest value only it will be considered. The address also
104080.
104080. Data type
Integer.
of X is integer because you are assigning integer. It's fine, but X equal to 10, one object is available, right? So can I print the value of this object at 10? Can I print the value of this object at 10?
No, sir.
What happens to the previous object? Now to understand what happens to the previous object, whether it is available, not available, you have got a concept called a garbage collector in Python, right? But as of now, to know what happened to the previous object, just I'll give overview of it, right? Garbage collector. Later we discuss in brief about this garbage collector, multiple X. But as of now, to understand what happens to the object 10, I'll go back to this case 3. In case 3, garbage collector. Garbage collector removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. It removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Unused or unreferred objects. Okay. What do you mean by unused or unreferred objects?
Means again it can't be used.
Unused or unreferred objects means, okay, yes. I can say like objects whose reference count becomes 0. Objects whose reference count becomes 0, we call them as unused or unreferred objects. Then these objects are immediately removed. These objects are immediately removed from the whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed. By the garbage collector. Automatically. Objects whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed from the memory by the garbage collector automatically. You may ask, what do you mean by reference count becoming 0? What is reference count? Reference count nothing but number of variables pointing to an object. Or I can say another way, number of variables storing address of an object. Number of variables pointing to an object or number of variables storing address of a object. Just observe this here. Object, there is an object of 10, right? How many variables are pointing to this object? How many variables are pointing to this?
One.
X is pointing, Y is pointing, Z also pointing, right? How many variables storing the address of this object? X is storing this address, Y is storing this address, Z also storing this address. So the number of variables pointing to an object gives the reference count. What is the reference count of this object? Yes, 3, right? The reference count of this object is 3 because X is pointing, Y is pointing, Z is pointing. Number of variables pointing to an object gives the reference count. Or number of variables storing the address of this object. How come an object reference count becomes 0? How come an object reference count becomes 0 and how an object gets removed? Now X value is 10, 10, 10. Slowly I modified Y value to 20. Observe here. Slowly I modified Y value to 20. An object 20 gets created with some address. The address is given to Y. Now Y is pointing to the new object 20. Now Y is not pointing to this 10. Now Y is not pointing to this 10. What is the reference count now?
2.
Reference count is 2, right? Because only X and Z are pointing. Y is not pointing now. Reference count decreases to 2 because only X and Z are pointing. Slowly I will modify the Z value to 30. What happens whenever I modify Z to 30?
Reference count will be 1.
Internally, one object with value 30 gets created. This address is stored by Z. Now Z is pointing to the new object. Z is not pointing to this. Z is not pointing to this object. Reference count becomes what?
1. Sir.
Reference count becomes 1.
1.
Previously, reference count was 3. 3 variables were pointing. X, Y, Z. Now only X is pointing. Y and Z, they are pointing to the new objects. Now slowly I modified the X value also to 50.
Reference count becomes 0.
one more object, one more address is created. The address is given to X. Now X equal to 50. Now X is pointing to the new object. X is not pointing to this. X is not pointing to this. Now what happens to the reference count?
0.
0.
Reference count is 0 because none of the variables are pointing to this object 10. None of the variables are pointing to this object 10. None of the variables are referring this 10. So reference count is 0. It is 10 is a unused object now. Unreferred object now. 10 is what? Unused or unreferred objects. So whenever object's reference count becomes 0, then immediately removed from the memory. Immediately objects removed from the memory, right? Immediately these objects are removed from the memory by the garbage collector. So here reference count becomes 0, right? Immediately garbage collector removes this object from the memory. Okay, understood, right? What is garbage collector? When what is garbage collector? Removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Whenever any object reference count becomes 0, then immediately that object gets removed from the memory by the garbage collector. Reference count means number of variables pointing to an object. Understood, right? Any queries in this, anyone? So later I'll be discussing about this garbage collector in brief, in depth with multiple examples. As of now, just what happens to the previous variable. Now we'll go back to this case 4, right? Now I was asking what happens to the previous object x equal to 10. Forget about x equal to 20 for some time. Think only one variable x equal to 10. What is the reference count of this object? 10.
0.
No, forget about x equal to 20. Think that only x equal to 10 is available. What is the reference count?
1, sir.
1. X is pointing to this object, right? X is pointing to this object, so reference count is 1. Slowly I modified the x value to 20. Now x is pointing to the new object at 20. X is pointing to the new object 20. Now this x is not pointing now. Now x is pointing to the new object 20. What happens to the reference count?
0.
0. 0 means this object immediately removed by the garbage collector. So what happens to the previous object? Can I retrieve the value from the previous object? What is your answer? All right, the object is not available. It got removed. If I say x equal to 30 in the next line, one more object for 30 gets created. What happens to 20?
Different count is 0.
So it gets removed, right? 20 also gets removed because whenever you say x equal to 30, it points to the new object. But 20, yes. Whenever you say x equal to 30 in the next line, one object gets created with some address. Now x is pointing to the new one. X is not pointing to the old one. It gets removed, right? So I'll show you all these 4 cases practically now. Any queries in these 4 cases before we go with the practical part of this?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Whenever we install Python, right? You can go to the start programs. Check where your Python is available within the start programs. Python 3.10 is the version. Ideally, it can work with both interactive and batch mode. By default, it opens in the interactive mode. If you want to work in batch mode, file, new file. So by default, you will get very small font options. configure ideally, set the font to 18 or 20 and say okay. Okay. Here itself we can write the code, here itself we can run module, right? Yes. Case 1. So this is comment in Python, which is comment starts with hash symbol, means this indicates that the line is not executable. Case 1. X equal to 10. If you are assigning, right? If you want to print content, print X. If you want to print the address, how to print the address? ID
of
function,
X.
ID of X. If you want to print the data type, what data type this X is?
Type of X.
Type of X, right? Yes. Okay. File, save. I created a separate folder for this batch, right? Yes. Python 6 AM, 1 second. 6 AM, right? Yes. I'm saving it as int1.py dot any name with .py extension. Observe this a run module. Print X, it prints 10. Address of X, where exactly it is stored, the memory location address. Type of X, what type? Integer type. I'll copy the same thing for case 2. Now, if you want to write one more program code, write file, new file once again. Case 2. What is case 2? Defining two different variables. Observe this case 2 once. Two different variables X and Y with two different values 10 and 20. Then two different objects gets created with two different addresses. Two different variables with two different values, two different objects with two different addresses. Now observe this. Defining two different variables with two different values, then two different objects. Gets created, two different objects gets created. Two different values, two different values, two different objects gets created, two different addresses. X has 10, Y has 20. Two different values, two different variables with two different values. Print X, address of X, type of X. Print Y, address of Y and type of Y. Print X, address of X, type of X. Print Y, address of Y and type of Y. Okay. Now try to answer the address of X and the address of Y. Is it going to be the same or different? Address of X and address of Y. Will it be the same or different?
Different.
Different, sir.
Different address because different values, different objects, different addresses. Answer this. Save it. Int2.py, right? Yes, save it and run this. Run module. 10 print X, 10 print Y, 20. See the addresses, different addresses, right? Yes. Case 3. If you observe this case 3, right? Yes. File, new file. Defining two different variables. Defining two different variables with same values, right? Two different variables with same values. With same values. Then only how many objects? Two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created. Yes, two different variables with same values, then only one object gets created and its address is written to both the X is 10, Y is 10. Now try to answer X value 10, Y value 10. Address of X and address of Y, is it going to be same or different?
Same.
It must be same, right? It should be same. X, because the values are same, only one object, only one address, right?
Yes.
Save it. Int 3.py, right? If the contents are same, only one object. If the contents are different, multiple objects. Run model. Observe whether the addresses are same or not. 10 address, 10 address. Okay. Case 4. Observe this case 4, right? Defining two variables with same name. Two variables with same name, right? Yes. Two variables being mute. Yes, Swati Reddy. class. Okay. Defining two variables with same name. But with different values. Defining two variables with same name but with different values. Then two different objects gets created, two different objects. And the previous one gets removed and the previous object gets removed, right? Yes. Defining two different variables to two variables with same name but with different values, then two different objects gets created and the previous one gets removed. X is 10 and X is 20. If you say X is 10, X is 20, always it takes the latest value, right? So print X, it prints 20. Address of X, it's address of this only. Type of X is integer. Understood these four cases, everyone? Any queries in this?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So can we give x equals to 10, 20, sir?
Yes, we can. X equal to 10, 20 we can give, but multiple values if we are assigning to a variable, multiple values if we are assigning to a variable, it will be collection data type. Collection of values. Two values, right? Type will be not fundamental type. It will be like collection type. Type of X will be tuple type, not integer type, right? Observe this. Second. Not this. Remove this. Run module. Type of X will be tuple data type, not integer type. So, one second. You can assign multiple values, but it will be like, just observe. Print X means, if print X means what it is printing. Print X means what it prints. Observe a tuple of values, tuple of two values. What a tuple type? Collection of values. I'll discuss that collection data types later. Okay. Any other queries in this four cases, anyone?
No, sir.
If I go to this, one second. If I go to this case 3, right? If I go to this case 3, X is 10, Y is 10. The address is same or different? X and Y address.
Same, sir.
It must be same, right? If I give instead of 10, if I give 10.0,
Same, sir.
10.0 means before you answer, what will be the type of Y?
Float.
Float point.
Type of Y is float. Type of X is,
Integer.
so here integer object created, here Y means float object created. The address will be same or different?
Different.
Two objects created, right? With two different addresses, right? Then address will be same or different?
Different, sir.
Different addresses. Address of X and address of Y. So you need to understand 10 and 10.0 are not same. Here one is integer object, one is float object. See, the addresses are different. Two objects with two different addresses created. Yes. Now coming back to this data types, right? Understood this, right? Data types. Data types are of two types. Fundamental data types, collection data types. Fundamental data types, object holding single value. Object to holding single value. Collection data type means the name itself saying collection of values, group of values. Object holding group of values. Object holding single value, fundamental type. Object holding group of values, collection type. See this example of this fundamental type just now we have discussed, right? Whenever you create a variable, whenever you create a x equal to 10, right? Internally an object gets created with the object 10, value 10, right? The address, the object is going to have some address, the address is given to x. Just now we are discussing. Here object to holding single value. Here object holding group of values. Just now you asked, right? X equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 group of values, a set of values, right? Or multiple values. So for this also one object gets created with some address. So here x equal to, this means an object gets created with multiple values. Address is given to x. Object object holding multiple values. Okay. Object holding single value. Collection data types, fundamental data types. Fundamental data types. Five types mainly. Mainly there are of five types. Integer, float, Boolean, string, complex. Five types of fundamental type. Integer, age 25, height 6.2, something in decimal, right? Float means something in the decimals. Boolean means like which runs true or false. Boolean values 0 or 1. 0 indicates false, 1 indicates true. True or false. T should be in uppercase, false, F should be in uppercase. Python is case sensitive. String means a sequence, a collection of characters, right? City, Hyderabad. sequence collection of characters. Complex x plus iy, right? In general mathematics, we represent complex number x plus iy. Instead of I, we use j, right? In Python. So we'll be discussing about these fundamental data types in brief, right? So before that, what are the various collection data types? List, tuple, set, dictionary. List, tuple, set, and dictionary. 4 types of collections. In Python, see, it's very simple. Python provides simple representations, right? List by using square bracket, tuple by using normal bracket, set by using curly bracket, dictionary by using curly bracket only, but key and value pair. Observe here, example for this list. X equal to, you are assigning some 4 values to it. Tuple y equal to 10, 20, 30, 40. Set curly bracket set of values. By seeing the braces itself, you should identify what type of collection it is. This is list, tuple, set. Dictionary means something in the key and value format. Curly bracket only. Name Ajay. This is key, this is value. Age 25. This is key, this is value. Okay, so we'll be discussing now. We have got a lot of discussion on these collections. List properties, list indexing, list slicing, list functions, list methods, list addresses, nested lists, list modifications we'll be discussing, right? Similarly for tuple, sets, and dictionaries. Here in the fundamental data types, we have got a lot of discussion on this. Integer, float, boolean, okay, but string, we have got a lot of discussion on this. String indexing, string slicing, string functions, string methods, string special characters, right? Yes. Fundamental data types, collection data types. Data types are of 2 types. Tomorrow my discussion will be on fundamental data types. More discussion on the string types. Okay, fine. Tomorrow also you can attend the session. Same time at 6 o'clock, right? Okay, actually the sessions will be from Monday to Friday, but this week you'll be going, tomorrow also you'll be having a session. Same timing, 6 to 7, right? Okay. Tomorrow will be the last free session, right? So that next after tomorrow's session, the link will be changed. Those who got registered, those who got enrolled, right? They will be getting the videos and the notes, right? Fine. Any queries from your side as part of today's session? Hope you understood, right? What happens internally whenever we define some variables? How to print the content, their address, or this data type. If the values are same, what happens? If the values are different, what is going to happen, right? Tomorrow, like most discussion on the string handling. Any queries?
No, sir.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow, same time. You can follow the same link, right, to see more on this, right? Fine.
Thank you, sir.